Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to take a look at a new announcement which you see here already on the screen for an upcoming eclipse. Today is Eclipse Day. I think, like, I don't know, like if it's everywhere or like in the US, I didn't really notice it prior, but a lot of people say that, of course. But yeah, we're going to see already Pokemon Go app was tweeting a new video basically showcasing the eclipse here basically, but also Necrozma Shadow, which you can see right here. So Necrozma is coming to Pokemon Go very soon, but what you can see at the end as well that it's tied to the Pokemon Go Fest. So this could be either in the season before, like not at the Go Fest itself, but basically prior to it, or during Go Fest. And I could see them actually doing it before, but like maybe it's also during, we don't really know it directly. But apparently like the Go Fest is all around like Ultra Beast and about like the Solgaleo and Lunala. And we're gonna talk a little bit about here today what Necrozma can do, what potential it has, and also about Ultra Necrozma, which is a special form for it. So let's take a look real quick at what Necrozma could do in PvP, or like in general in Pokemon Go, not directly only PvP. We're going to see here the stats of this Pokemon, and we're going to see here right now as well, it's going to go up to 4,163 CP. This is not crazy high, but it's also not crazy low. I think kind of the CP limit of around like Lugia's level, but of course Lugia is way more bulk. This Pokemon has a fairly decent attack stat, which is kind of cool. So, and you see here already, there's a family for this one. You have Dusk Main and Dawn Wings. Those two Pokemon are basically created by morphing together the Solgaleo with the Necrozma or the Lunala with the Necrozma. There is stuff found in the code towards those fusion Pokemon. Everybody was thinking about like Kyurem and Kyurem Black and Kyurem White first, but maybe now with the announcement here, maybe it was more tied towards Necrozma and the Dusk Main / Dawn Wings form of Necrozma, which would also make quite a lot of sense. So it could definitely be the case that you're gonna get Duskmane and Dawnwings Necrozma for this Go Fest. Why do I think this is not going to be the case? Because usually Niantic, as soon as they release something, they drag it out as much as they can before they release like the rest of it. And so it is very likely that we're just gonna get for Go Fest raids for Necrozma and maybe raids for Solgaleo and Lunala, and that's basically it. And that's most likely what's going to happen, and people are still going to be excited, and then maybe in like 2 Go Fest or whatever later, we're going to get the Dawnwings and the Dusk main form. But usually, like, Go Fest are a bigger thing where you kind of have those special forms released. For example, last time I think it was like the Mega Evolution of Rayquaza, which got released, as well as, like, of course, the Mythical all the time. So maybe they're going to do something like this, but kind of similar to the Mega Evolution, we have Ultra Necrozma. Ultra Necrozma is basically created by using a certain Z move on this Pokemon in the Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon games, only in those games, and has a crazy high CP limit here of 5,281 and has an insane attack stat. Like, look at this. Also, it changes its type with the Dragon and Psychic typing, which is going to be interesting. And we're going to take a look at this Pokemon later on as well, because the stats of those Pokemon are already in the code. We don't know the exact movesets, which we can still take a look a little bit later on as well, but the stats of those Pokemon are already in the code, and it is going to be an interesting one, because there has been more in the code. Basically, for here, the other forms here are the Dusk Main and Necrozma, which is usually in PvP like the ones that are a little bit better because of the typing, Steel and Psychic, same as Solgaleo, but it's basically Solgaleo usually in a little bit better. That's basically what this Pokemon is all about. And then we're going to have the Dawn Wings form, which is still Ghost and Psychic. Like, they don't really change the typings to like its main form of Solgaleo and Lunala, but they're a little bit better usually compared to the standard forms. But for those two Pokemon, for both Solgaleo and Lunala, the signature move for them were already found in the code by basically just, I think, the audio files for them, but like no stats or whatever, otherwise I would already made a video about this. But basically, it is nearly guaranteed that we're gonna get for the Go Fest the signature moves for those two Pokemon, which is going to make especially the Solgaleo even more overpowered. If you haven't noticed that yet, at least if you don't play Master League, Solgaleo is one of the best Pokemon already, having Fire Spin, Psychic Fangs, and if it's gonna get like, you know, a very strong Steel move together, like for the secondary move slot, this Pokemon going to be even better. Basically, secondary move slot for Solgaleo was usually Iron Head or the Solar Beam. Neither of the options are like perfect, but they're still kind of fine. They're still doing it because the Pokemon itself is so great. But now, if you're going to give it like a signature move, it's going to be insane. About Lunala, I don't really want to talk too much about right now because I feel like this Pokemon not going to be as great because it needs a better fast move first. If it gets Shadow Cloud, it would be overpowered, but before that, we not really have to talk about it. Otherwise, we can take a look here real quick at the moveset of the current form, at least, of the Necrozma. We're going to see here for the standard level up movesets, we're going to have something like Confusion, which is very likely to get for this Pokemon, but it also has Psycho Cut, which I look more into it. I think it's going to be a more what this Pokemon most likely going to get. Night is just an interesting move to get. Rock Burst has coverage, not really. Power Gem I could see on this Pokemon. That's like something that you saw, but here is kind of what I want to talk a little bit about. It has 2 signature moves with Prismatic Laser and Photon Geyser, and those are very important that they come into the game, because at least like one of them, of course, depending on how Niantic is going to do it, because otherwise Necrozma is not going to be the best Pokemon for anything, to be fair, which we're going to take a look at afterwards as well. Otherwise, we're going to have some other cool moves as well. I think it also lands Shadow Claw, which might be interesting, which we can take a look at as well real quick. Psyshock, which would be very interesting as well for this Pokemon. Rock Tomb as like coverage move. Also, it learns some Dragon type moves like Dragon Dance here, of course, but Dragon Pulse as well as Outrage here, which is going to be important for the Ultra Necrozma. So I could see that they just put it into the moveset just to have it like as coverage move for maybe later on. But it learns a lot of moves here, like Earth Power or the Earthquake or Stone Edge. So like you have a lot of coverage moves with this Pokemon for sure. But let's take a look real quick on what this can do basically in the Master League. Here I have it actually with Psy Strike, which it doesn't learn, of course. It's just basically as a replacement to what Photon Geyser or Prismatic Laser could be in the future. Psycho Cut as well as Night Session, what we can see already, even with the very overpowered charge move of Mewtwo, which this Pokemon doesn't learn again, but like could be a similar thing for Photon Geyser / Prismatic Laser. This Pokemon has next to no play in this current meta, sadly, as the stats don't really help it and the fast move don't really help it. I wonder if it's going to change if we're going to put it Shadow Claw on this one, because again, like here, for PvP, the stats are already online, but the moves are not, and you can see already it's not going to change. So I doubt that Necrozma itself going to be very important or like overpowered, but you still maybe want to get one, because I guess the IVs that your Necrozma have going to be most likely later on very important to get like the Dusk main and the Dawn Wings form, because it is like called Necrozma, so I would imagine they just take the IV spread from the Necrozma that you have when you like fuse it later on together. But right now, most likely this Pokemon is not going to be too crazy. But now we're going to have the other Necrozma, which would be the Ultra Necrozma here. And we see already the CP stat is way higher, the attack is insane. If you're going to put something in like Shadow Claw, you can go for Psyshock, which is basically a Psy Strike and just bad, but it learns Psyshock right now, as well as Outrage. You're going to see that this Pokemon actually has a lot of potential, of course, but how could they implement this Pokemon itself? I could see that it could be very similar towards what we had with a Rayquaza. Basically, to Mega Evolve Rayquaza, you need to have Dragon Ascent on this Pokemon, and I think you need the Prismatic Laser in order to... Where's the moveset here again? I think you need the Prismatic Laser with a Z move in order to get this form like later on, like the Ultra form. So I could see something similar happening towards this Pokemon as well. I think you use the base form of Necrozma to get this form, as far as I know. So this might be something that could be very interesting in the future. I don't know if they're going to put it in immediately, but they could basically do it very similar towards what they did with Rayquaza. Basically give you an item or whatever to get this move, and only if you have this move you can use like the energy that you gain from doing the raids from Necrozma to get this form, and then you maybe have like some boost for certain types, maybe something even different towards what you have here right now, because Dragon and Psychic is kind of useless because we already have the mega form of Latios and Latias, which is the exact same. If it just would be the Pokemon that are boosted by the windy weather, you already have the same kind of from the Mega Rayquaza as well, so maybe it would be a little bit useless, to be fair, but I actually do think that this Pokemon has some potential even for PvP to not be broken, but very, very strong, because like the CP are all kind of from attack, so it's a very squishy Pokemon. You can most likely Dragon Breath it down with a Dialga, which is kind of interesting, so I still think that this Pokemon is going to be a fun one to play when we ever gonna get this in the game. If we ever gonna get this, those two we definitely gonna get into the game, because you can still definitely get them. But yeah, let me know in the comment section what do you think about this. Are you excited for Necrozma for the Go Fest or like the season prior? I definitely think it's going to be a cool Pokemon. I'm kind of excited that we finally get some new legendaries. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Gonna see you later for a fun showcase for the Jungle Cup, so definitely stay tuned for this. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.